I finally found the best way to pull off this queen's makeup. And when I say best way, let's say for me, as I've done this Medarda cosplay maybe like 4 or 5 times before trying this route with gold foil flakes. As you'll see throughout the video, I'll show some of the other looks I've already done with Mel and how I've used body paint, tattoo paper, just other routes to pull off that beautiful gold design on her skin. So when trying out this way, I thought it was perfect for one day at MegaCon, and I went with the white robe look, when she finally, finds out a little more about herself. I went with that look for the con that day, and so I was like, let me test out these foil flakes, which were very inexpensive on Amazon. I think I got a nice sized pack for about $4 to $5, and it's definitely gonna last me quite some time. So with the gold flakes, I'm essentially applying them to my face and chest with spirit gum and eyelash glue. I'm already used to using eyelash glue on a regular basis, so I know I have no allergic reactions to it or sensitivities, so I felt most comfortable using it on parts of my face. I also have experience with using spirit gum. I haven't used it as much recently, but I know that it was also still safe for my skin from the times I used it in the past for prosthetics when I did more body paint looks. Just between using both, it is a different drying time and stickiness when applying the foil paper. Also, I should definitely note why I love this way the best. It was the easiest to remove and wash out at the end of the day. After wearing it for 12 plus hours, it was intact and came off easily. And since it was my first time trying it this way, I found it best to stencil it out with eyeshadow. I tend to like eyeshadow to stencil things out because it's easy to rub out. And just make sure that the design is going to look the way I want to, because if I went and applied all this sticky stuff and then the foil, only for it to not even be like somewhat symmetrical or accurate and have to rub it off, like that would have been a whole pain on its own. And this was already like, I forgot to keep track of the time. I want to say 2 hours max to pull off before heading down to the con. You can see on the right of my screen one of the times I did Medarda in the past where I used tattoo paper, and honestly love how it came out. Very neat, was nice. It was a great look that got such great feedback for Saturday at MegaCon in the past, right? But then I could not get it off the next day, and it stuck on a little longer than I would have liked to be in other outfits and cosplays. So I'm planning on doing the cinematic look that League of Legends released after season 2 of Arcane, which you can also see here on the right. She has like this red scarf cape around her, and you see a little more of the body art. And so I thought this was a great opportunity to practice this because I plan to do this other look by the summer. So I really want to make sure I have this down, because then as I go to do more details for next time in terms of the neck and back, I'm like, I got to practice right now. We got to make sure this looks Gucci, As you can see what I'm doing here with the look, I put on the glue and had to basically apply as big of a piece of foil paper as I could to the area that I applied glue in, which is easier said than done because that foil paper is so sensitive and delicate. It breaks so easily depending on how you take it out of the pack. So highly recommend, if you try a method like this, be very careful on how you take it out. Like if you need to use a certain material or like hold paper between your fingers before you touch it, just so you don't break it apart or crinkle it if you want it to go flatter and neater on your face. So for me, I preferred bigger pieces of foil to get a neater look, since it was already going to be messy anyway, and then I just brush off the excess from there. And obviously the excess is everything that the glue was not attached to, so it's supposed to rub off my face easier from that. If pieces did break during this process, I basically just took that piece where I found it and applied it to other parts that I did the glue. And you'll see that as I did that later on, like with this chin piece. It was a smaller piece that got detached. So I'm like, okay, you can go on my chin and I'll just rub off the excess if needed. And also with this look, what I found best was putting on the makeup after applying parts of the foil. So of course, in between doing some foil parts, I started doing my eyeshadow, I started doing the eyebrows, started applying foundation. And after applying the foil pieces, especially to my cheeks, I put the makeup in between the design. And I found that best to do. There are some times where it's like the brush with the foundation just went over the foil and you can see where it got discolored with my foundation, but it wasn't too hard to wipe off. But I didn't want to risk any parts getting too ruined or looking too discolored compared to other parts of my face if I kept going over it with makeup. So I preferred to just go in between the design. After working on the face pieces, or at least the bigger parts, I did my neck and I applied as big of a piece as I could to the neck area before rubbing it off. And honestly, I rubbed it off more aggressively for the neck and chest because it was bigger and easier to just aggressively rub it off so I can get the look I wanted. And through doing that, I realized where I missed some points and where the design could have definitely been more detailed and where it seems like the glue might have smudged a bit and appeared broader than it needed to be. So for next time, I know I need to be extra careful with like tinier lining and tip of the application brush to make sure it stays to the size I want it to get the design the way Medarda has hers. And it was easier at that point to also clean it up with makeup to get any like little straggly sparkle pieces essentially that came off, which wasn't a complete big deal because she has like gold freckles on her face. So that worked out. And after fixing that thumbprint I managed to put under my cheek, I got my Medarda look. Let me know what you think. Thank you very, very much for watching. Subscribe and come back later to see how I improve this look and do it again.